All right, everyone, let's start the session. And in this session, we are going to cover Chapter 9, Government Audit portion. It is a big portion, fairly different style of audit that you are going to learn because not every entity is being audited in the same manner. Because if it is a government entity, there is a more responsibility they carry towards the public in general. So that is why there is a lot of propriety nature audit is going to happen over here. Who is the little kid, Pooja? Okay. So there is going to be a lot of propriety nature audit is going to be there. What does it mean, propriety nature? Propriety in general, what does it propriety means? For example, if I have 10 rupees in my pocket, whatever prudence I will apply when making the expense out of that 10 rupees, I have to apply the same prudence when I am a government official. So suppose if I work in a government department and I have the authority to sanction all the expenditure. So what I'll do is the moment I am buying an AC for my office, I'm also ordering one AC for my home at government expenditure. That is you being not applying the prudence, right? So that is why when it comes to other companies audit, it doesn't talk about the moral principle and the prudence a lot. But when it comes to the government audit, you know, not just the prudence, it also means if the government has already set a certain laws, certain rules to making, if there is a, for example, take that Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. When they made this scheme, that program was launched, they had already budgeted that in next 5 years or 10 years we are going to spend like some 800 crores 700 crores in the project across India. So how they have actually made that expenditure? They must have made the entire plan, entire manual, that policy, which, you know, through which you can understand, okay, how the government has budgeted those expenditure, who will sanction those expenditure, who will see the authorization of the suppliers over there, right? For every single item, who is the going to be the person who is approving those expenditure, then only those expenditure will be made. So you will have to, you know, think from the government point of view or more from the public interest point of view over there. Now, one more thing I'll tell you. In case of government audit, in case of normal audit, what happens? You do the audit, you collect the evidences, you conclude based on those evidences, you give your opinion in the audit report, right? Once you accept the engagement, you do the risk assessment procedure as per 315. Then you do further audit procedure as per SA 330. Then you come to SA 500 series and it will tell you that all the evidences need to be sufficient and appropriate. Then there are some special standards which tells you that how you should collect the evidences in case of inventory, litigation and claims, related party, external confirmation. You collect all those evidences, then you form a conclusion based on those evidences whether misstatement is there or not there. Whatever may be your conclusion, you will go into 700 series and draft your audit report to give an opinion. What your opinion you give? Whether entity's financial statement give true and fair view or not. In case of government enterprises, this is not how the report is written. In case of government audit, it is always you giving the factual details. And you let the opinion on public hand. For example, when you make your audit report, government audit report, you don't give any opinion whether the government department financial statement is giving true and fair view. No, 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 no. You tell whatever the problems you have identified. In what areas you have identified those factual findings. It is called as factual findings. So you'll only give the factual findings and your recommendation, but you never give an opinion whether you found it to be correct or incorrect. No, you list down all the problems as a factual finding and you let people decide whatever opinion they want to make. In case of normal government departments, are we understanding this fundamentally what is happening in India for the government audit, guys? Okay. So as we decided, today we will first conceptually understand, and along with the conceptual understanding, we will write certain points of the government audit. As per Article 266, okay, now read everything from the MCQ point of view, that every line is important. As per Article 266, the Consolidated Fund of India consists of all the revenue received from direct and indirect taxes. So first of all, there is a fund called as Consolidated Fund of India, which contains the revenue from all the direct taxes and indirect taxes. Not just that, all the loans taken by the government of India. And all the receipt of loans that is received by the government of India. Are we clear, guys? What all will be included in the Consolidated Fund of India as per Article 266? Government audit, what is the objective? Important from the exam point of view. You will scribble along with me. One, accounting of funds, accounting of public fund. Second, evaluation of government policies. The objective, second objective auditor has is to evaluate the government policies. Third, it will form the base for corrective action. Who will take the corrective actions here? The government officials. So that the government officials take the corrective actions, you will provide them a base. And last, it will establish a administrative accountability. Yes, the first objective of government audit is to be accountable towards the accounting of the public fund. Second, the evaluation of the government policies. Third, base for corrective action for the senior officials. And then last, it is to be established the administrative accountability. Clear? You will be able to explain this in the exam. The government audit serves as a mechanism or process for public accounting of the government funds. It also provides public accounting of the operational management program, policies, aspect of the public administration, as well as the accountability of administering officials or officers administering them. Audit observations on the factual data collection also serve as a highlight at the lapses of the lower hierarchy. Like the people who are working at the ground department, like lower hierarchy, what lapses they are making, what problems they are creating, and thus it will help the supervisory level officer to take the corrective action. The main objective of audit is a combination of ensuring the accountability of the administration and also the towards the legislature, and also functioning as an aid to the administration. So there are two accountability you are looking. One, you first you want to assist in the functioning of the administration, government administration. Second, it also ensures the accountability of administration towards the Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha, Legislative Assembly. Are we clear? You have this objective of the government audit in your syllabus in the beginning itself. Can you tell me what Article 149 is all about of the Constitution of India? Do you have this in your syllabus? Article 149, 150, 151?
Yes, ma'am.
What is 149? One 49 talks about power. Please write this down, scribble along with me. Article 149 talks about power and duties of C and AG. C and AG shall perform duties and he shall exercise such powers in relation to the accounts of union and state and of any other authority or body as may be prescribed under any law made by Parliament. So it makes the C&AG responsible. How? It gives the power, and also it mentions the duties of C&AG, Comptroller and Audit General of India, in relation to accounts of union and state. So central government also makes them Union of India. Basically, they also have their accounts. Every state has to keep its books of account. Not just that, any other body as may be prescribed by the law made by Parliament. So C&AG is going to be responsible for that. That is Article 149. What is Article 150? It talks about maintenance of accounts of union and state. As prescribed by President of India on the advice of C&AG. So Comptroller and Audit General of India will advise President. President will listen to that advice and then prescribe the format, the way, a manner accounts of Union of India and the states of India should maintain. That is Article 150, maintenance of accounts. Article 151, submission of account. Who will submit the report? C&AG will submit the report. To whom C&AG will submit the report? The union report will go to the president, the state reports will go to the governor, right? So submission of account, the reports of C&AG relating to accounts of union and state shall be submitted to president / governor, who shall cause them to be laid before Parliament or state legislature. Sorry. So the union accounts, reports on the union account will be laid in front of Parliament by the president. For the president, and the report of states will be laid in front of before governor in state legislative assemblies. Priya, are you here? Priya?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you please tell me what 149, 150 and 151 articles of Constitution of India states?
Yes, ma'am. 149 states that the C&AG shall perform such duties and exercise such powers in relation to the accounts of the union or the states and other authorities or body as prescribed by the law of the Parliament. And Article 150 states that the accounts of the union and of the state shall be prepared in the form and manner as prescribed by the president on the advice of C&AG.
Yes.
And 151 requires that the reports of the CNAG relating to the accounts of the union or the states shall be submitted to the president or the governor, um, and it shall also be led before the house of the parliament or the state legislature.
Clear, everyone? Easy topic, but it just you once you will have to read it, because they can ask, if they ask this in the MCQ, we don't want to lose the marks over there. Now comes let's talk about the legal framework of a government audit. Right. So the appointment and removal of C&AG first. The C&AG shall be appointed by the President of India. He shall not be removed from his office unless there is a proven misbehavior or incapacity. You don't have to read about the judge of a Supreme Court here. What will be the tenure of a C&AG? 6 years or 65 years age, whichever is earlier. Clear? Who can become the auditor? In India, the function of government audit is discharged by the independent statutory authority of the Comptroller and Audit General of India through the agency of Indian Audit and Accounts Department. So there is already a department which is Indian Audit and Accounts Department, under which there is Comptroller and Audit General of India, who actually has this independent statutory authority to perform the government audit. Can you tell me who is the current C&AG of India and when he was appointed? Google everyone. You will not remember this. You have to Google it.
Sanjay Murthy, K. Sanjay Murthy.
Sorry.
Ma'am, K. Sanjay Murthy
And
on
appointed
21st November 2024.
very recently. Yes.
Yes.
Ago only. K. Sanjay Moti and appointed on 21st. They will not ask this in the exam, but as a general knowledge you can keep, right? Audit is a necessary function to ensure the accountability of executive to parliament and within the executives of the spending agencies to the sanctioning and the controlling authority. The purpose and objective of audit needs to be tested at touchstone of the public accountability. The C&AG, in the discharge of its function, watches the various authorities act in regard to the financial matter in accordance with the constitution and laws made by parliament and conform to the rules and order made therein. Just note that much, like just read it once. Only remember the tenure over there, right? The tenure for the C&AG and who appoints the C&AG, and when he can be removed only on the proven misbehavior. The power of C&AG is important from your exam point of view, right? The C&AG gives the C&AG Act gives the following power to the C&AG in connection with the performance duties. He has the power to inspect any office of accounts under the control of both union and state, including the office responsible for the creation and initiation of the subsidiary or ledger accounts. Basically, there is accounts department for every state and the union. So what they are saying is those he can just visit, inspect any office, or he can require any of these offices to give him accounts, books, papers, and other document which are relevant to be sent to be specified places. He can just ask that these documents are relevant for my audit, please send it to my office, and the union and state will have to send it. He can also put question and make observation as he may consider necessary to the person in charge of the office. And in carrying out his audit, the CNDG has power to dispense any part of the detailed audit of accounts and the class of transaction and to apply such limited checks in relation to the accounts and transaction as he may determine. Now, can you tell me, as per SA 210, there were certain preconditions to an audit. Open your SA 210, everyone. There were some preconditions to an audit. In that precondition, the first one was related to acceptance of applicable FRF. The second one was you wanted management to acknowledge certain things. In that acknowledgement, there was a third point related to they will provide you certain things. What were the things that you were expecting from management to provide for which you are looking for acknowledgement?
Access to all information
Access to all the information.
from which the management is aware, and additional information auditor may request from management, and unrestricted access to persons within the entity from whom auditor determines if necessary to obtain audit evidence.
So one, you will ask management to give you in writing that they will provide you the access of the books, papers and everything. Any additional information then you may request and provide access to the people. Very similar to that, you have the points over here, right? So this is your power that you can inspect any office, you can require any documents, and you can also put in questions or observation to any person in charge. And call for such information as he may require for the preparation of accounts and report for his duty to prepare. And while you are carrying out the audit, CNDG also has the power to dispense any part of the detailed audit of any accounts or class of transaction and to apply such limited checks in relation to such accounts as he may determine. Please remember all these points, guys, because just a second, did I miss certain points over here? No, I think this is clear only. Why did I write this? A, B, C, D. Duties of CNDG. How many duties are there? Duties of CNDG is first to compilation and submission of account. Then CNDG also has the duty to provide information and he shall render assistance. Another duty is auditing and reporting. Duties of auditing, receipts and expenditure of substantially financed entities. Also has duty to audit of grant of loans. He has the duty to audit of receipts of union or states. He has duty to audit accounts of stocks and stores, basically purchases and inventory. And last is the audit of government, company, and corporations. The question will be asked for 5-6 marks maximum if they will ask, and you only need some good 6 points to remember out of this. First, the compilation and submission of account. Second, providing information and rendering assistance. Third, auditing and reporting. Fourth, auditing receipts and expenditure of substantially financed entities. Then fourth is auditing of grants and loans. Then sixth is auditing of receipts of union and state. Then auditing of accounts of stocks, inventory and stores, purchases, that is. And last is auditing of government account, government company and corporation. These are just the duties. Then guys, come to this part where C&AG has the duty to compile and submit the accounts of union or state. They may ask you this question, right? So you'll say C&AG has the responsibility to compile the accounts. The C&AG is responsible for compiling accounts of both union and each state from the initial and subsidiary accounts provided by the treasury offices and department. So every union and not every union and every state accounts department will have their own offices, their treasury and the accounts department. All you have to do is get the ledgers from that as a C&AG, and then you shall compile that information for the entire state and the central. Are you understanding how they can actually compile the information from the initial ledger that they receive from the state or the union for each state? First, they have to compile that so that it looks like a proper accounts. Then he will also prepare the annual records, annual accounts. C&AG prepares accounts showing the annual receipt, disbursement of union, state, union territories with the legislative assembly based on compiled accounts and those prepared by the government or authorized person. Now, you may ask me the question, if C&AG is the auditor, how come they are preparing the accounts? See, normally in audit, is this what you have heard before, that every audit, the auditor is only like preparing the financial statement and then he is auditing? Normally this won't happen, right? Companies Act doesn't allow you to do that. If we think about the companies, like, can you really, so Company Act has actually put a restriction on certain services that you can't provide if you're the auditor, right? There is a list of 7-8 services. It also includes accounts and bookkeeping. But here, C&AG is part of that. He is appointed by the president itself. He is working for the government. He has to help the compilation of the account. He will help in the preparation of account, and he will also be the department who is auditing. So that is the difference in case of any other audit and the government audit. Yes. Now, first he has compiled the accounts, then he has prepared the annual accounts. Now he will submit the accounts. So all the compiled accounts, including appropriation account compiled by C&AG, are submitted to President, Governor, and administrative of the respective union territory within agreed timelines. So for union, it is going to be the President. For state, it is going to be the governor. For union territory, it is going to be the administrator to whom he will submit the accounts. Are we clear? Did we also say that he will provide assistance and provide information and he will render the compilation and submission is done? Now we are talking about he has to provide information and render assistance. What assistance C&AG provide? Any assistance. So for example, any state can just raise his hand and he's like, any state can say, no, we are not able to prepare our accounts. We have lack of resources at this point of time. We have shortage of time. Please C&AG send us help. You will have to, also assist the union and the state in the preparation of those accounts, right? Or any other. in maintaining the basically something relevant to audit or accounts, you are always there for the state and the union territories and for the union itself to prepare and to provide the assistance that they need. C&AG also have certain relief. What relief? C&AG Act 1971 includes a provision to relieve the C&AG of responsibility for compilation and keeping of accounts, focusing instead on providing required information and assistance. So what they did, they included our relief into Act that you don't come and prepare our accounts. Even though it is the duty of you to prepare, but they included a relief, they exempted those people. You don't come and prepare accounts. You just provide a certain information and assistance that we need. You don't you don't work as an employee for us, rather you provide any assistance. We will have our own set of people who will do it. Are we clear? So even though we started by telling that if you are the C&AG, it will be your responsibility to compile and submit the information and provide information and render any assistance. But then they included a relief by saying, no, you don't have to do that. The compilation part, we will do it. You just provide certain assistance to us and that is fine. Are we clear? Okay. Now come to this part. In your duties, they included audit of receipts of union or accounts, right? What does it mean? All the taxation incomes, direct tax, indirect tax, any repayment of loans that you receive, all of that incomes are going to be part of the Consolidated Fund of India or each state or union territory. You have a responsibility to audit all of that as a C&AG. Not just that, under the audit of receipts of union and state, you will also have to ensure the effective checks. What effective checks? Have you, in your chapter 3, you must have studied about the internal checks and internal controls, right? There are certain questionnaire narratives are already prepared by the entity to maintain, make sure that the financial statement does not contain any misstatement. In the similar way, C&AG also going to ensure that the rules and the procedure for assessment, collection, and proper allocation of revenue are designed for the effective checks. Which receipts are we talking about? The receipt which is going into the Consolidated Fund of India. He will audit the receipts and also make sure that the effective checks are maintained. Then it is the C&AG responsibility to confirm that all these rules and procedure are being duly observed. He will examine the accounts. C&AG conducts the examination of accounts as deemed necessary for ensuring compliance and effectiveness. And then he will prepare his final report related to audit of receipts and procedural adherence. Sometimes they give 4 marks question just on audit of receipts of union or states. Please learn at least minimum 4 points. If you can learn all, nothing like it. Just remember, first you have to do the audit of receipt, then you have to ensure the effective checks, then you will also observe that the rules are being adhered to, then you will examine the accounts, and then you will provide your findings to the union or state. Now, Pooja, can you please cover when you do the audit of government expenditure? The audit of government expenditure is one of the major component of the government audit. The basic standard set for the audit of expenditure is to ensure that there is a provision of funds authorized by competent authority, fixing the limit within which the expenditure can be incurred. What are those standards? We are talking about the standards which are set for the audit of expenditure. You must be having at least 5 points under this. Yes. Can you tell me?
Audit against rules and orders.
First is audit against rules and orders. Guys, all of you are writing? Audit against, first tell us the side heading, audit against the rules and orders. Then
audit of sanctions.
The audit of sanctions. Then
audit against provision of funds.
Then
proprietary audit,
last.
performance audit.
So do you have the individual topics for this as well in your syllabus? Where you have to do the audit against rules and order, audit of sanction, audit against provision of fund, propriety audit, and the performance audit. When it comes to audit against the rules and auditor or rules and order, auditor verifies that expenditure incurred conform to the relevant provision of statute. And financial rules and regulation. So both, not just the statute and also any financial rules and regulation. What is also audit of sanction? Whenever the government is making an expenditure, there is always a sanction first, right? They would be, first of all, they would be sanctioning the expenditure. They will also allocate the budget for that particular sanction. So first of all, you have to see whether there is proper sanction, either special or general, accorded by competent authority. So for example, if there is a expenditure towards the IT, like for the Digital India initiatives and all of that. So definitely there will be someone in the Ministry of the IT department, IT, who is going to sanction those expenditures. So you have to see whether the competent authority has sanctioned by the general or special sanction for those expenditure or not. Now, in case of normal companies also, like for example, if you're going to make certain expenditure in near future, you will have to make a budget for it. So similarly, when it comes to the government audit as well, you have to verify whether there are budgets of fund out of which expenditure can be met. Budget means is providing for the funds that is going to be needed. Ronan, do you have the printout of writing practice book? Or where do you write the answers normally?
I normally use the writing practice book.
Writing practice book
Now
only.
Yeah, now I'm writing in my other notes.
No. But do you have the printout of writing practice book? Yeah, that I have. No,
Yeah.
you have it. No, so
Yeah.
instead of writing anywhere now, just find out if you have the relevant question in that writing practice book, so that you can write there only. No,
Yeah, okay.
I think that makes sense. So just let me know what question it is there. Like for example, if there is a question of expenditure audit in that, you write over there. No,
Okay.
I'll give you time to find out the question. Now you are looking for that book. And normally Pooja, Amrita and Priya, where do you guys write the answers?
And separate book.
In a separate notebook? Pooja,
Separate notebook.
you? Priya, you as well?
Separate notebook, ma'am. Maintaining separate.
Okay, perfect. I'll also find the question number at the same time, and if I can find it like quickly, I'll tell you, Ronana, you can follow that. Now, next is the propriety audit. I have told you the propriety, meaning of propriety, right? What was the meaning of propriety? The expenditure is incurred with due regard to broad and general principle of propriety. And there comes the last audit, that is performance audit. Performance audit talks about triple E: economy, efficiency, and effectiveness of all the program, all the schemes run by the government. Whether the programs, schemes, and projects where large expenditure has been incurred are being run economically and giving results. Please learn this, guys. Now, under the expenditure audit, you have audit against rules and order. Don't spend a lot of time. You further have these topics below, right? If they ask you a question on audit of rules and expenditure, so that means there are certain rules, regulation, and orders against which regularity audit is conducted, mainly fall under the following categories. This regulatory audit, whether you have done whether the entity, any government department, they have done and they have done the expenditure as per the rules, regulation, and order. What categories they have mentioned? Pooja, can you cover?
Rules and orders regulating the powers to incur and sanction expenditure from the Consolidated Fund of India.
Okay. First is rules. Please write everyone these categories. These rules, regulation, and order against which regulatory audit is conducted, mainly following under the following criteria. So if they ask you this question, there are three categories that you have to remember. One, rules and orders regulating the power to incur and sanction expenditure from CFI or state. Second, Pooja.
Rules and orders dealing with the mode of presentation of claims against government, withdrawing money from the Consolidated Fund, Contingency Fund, and public accounts of the Government of India and of states.
Rules and order dealing with the presentation of claims against government. What claims? Claims against the government. That is one. Second, withdrawal from CFI, comma, contingency fund, what happened? Contingency fund and public accounts. So the point one says the first category is the rules and regulation orders they have established, which give the power to certain departments to incur and sanction expenditure from the Consolidated Fund of India. Government department will have all the fund into the CFI or the state fund, right? And there are certain rules prescribed through which they can actually make the all the government department can make the expenditure and according to the sanction. The second one is the money is still going out, but why? How? If there are any claims against the government, then there are withdrawal from the other withdrawals from the Consolidated Fund of India, or there is a withdrawal from the contingency fund that is maintained for some relief, some tsunami, some flood, and those kind of situation, or any other public accounts that is maintained by the government of India or a state. Our third category would be Pooja, can you cover this one?
Rules and orders regulating the condition of service, pay and allowance and pensions of government servants.
Sorry, rules and orders regulating the condition of service, pay and allowances and pensions of government servant. So who will make the payment of all the government employees? It is going to be out from the CFI only, Consolidated Fund of India or a state fund, right? So then you have to find out, okay, for the government employees, what are the conditions for their services? What are the terms for their pays? What are the terms for their allowances? What are the pension that is applicable to the government department? And whether the pension, pay, allowances are going as per that rules only. So 3 categories of expenditures against the rules that you have to verify. One, towards the towards incurring and actually sanctioning of expenditure for any expenditure that is going to be done after CFI and state. And if there are any claims against the government, withdrawal from the CFI contingency fund and public account maintained by the government of India, then the rules and order will be there for dealing with the mode of presentation of these. And then regulation, rules and order relating to the payment towards the government employees for their service, for their pays, for their allowances, and for their pension. Right? Now, another question, just attached question. So under rules and orders only, rules, regulation and order only, there is another question. They may either they will ask these following 3 categories, or they will ask the function of this audit against rules and order. It is the function of audit to carry out examination of various rules, regulation, and orders issued by the executive authorities of the government. Why? To see if these rules are not inconsistent with the constitution or any law, and they are consistent with the essential requirement of audit and accounts as determined by the C&AG. And there is no conflict with the orders or rules made by any higher authority, or in case they have not been separately approved, means what? The rules have not been separately approved by any competent authority. The issuing authority possesses the necessary rule making power. Very specific 4 points are there in terms when it comes to the audit against rules and order. If I am a government department, for example, I am the Department of Defense, right? So for defense, there will be separate nature of expenditure that will be done. First, you have to see that expenditure made by the defense are not inconsistent with the provisions made under the Constitution. I'm not doing the expenditure for anything which is not approved under the Constitution or allowed under the Constitution. Second, those rules which is made by the Ministry of Defense for our department, the defense, right, for the armies, for that they are consistent with the requirements of as determined by the C&AG, requirement of audit and accounts as determined by the C&AG. Third, there is no conflict between the rules that I make versus the rule any higher authority makes. And last, if the competent authority, there is no, so for example, we have made certain rules for certain expenditure and there is no competent authority they have approved, then the issuing authority has or they possess certain rule making power. Right? I should be having some power so that only I can make the rules for those expenditure, right? So you have to see if the people who are issuing those rules, they actually possess some power, rule making power. Is this question logically clear to you? Why there are two questions first of all? So out of those 5 audit of expenditure, you have done the first one, that is audit against rules and order. Just go through it once, guys. Now let's do the audit of sanctions. Easy one. Too easy one. One, if they ask you to answer how as an CNG you are going to do the audit of sanction, so you will say the auditor has to ensure that each item of expenditure is covered by a sanction either by general or special. That will be your first one. By whom? By the competent authority. Why this audit of sanction is directed? To ensure that the expenditure is properly covered by a sanction and for also to certify that the authority sanction is competent for the purpose by the virtue of power vested in it by the provisions of constitution and the law. So second point has to, so basically what they are saying is, first you have to ensure that expenditure is actually sanctioned by either general sanction or specific sanction. By whom? By a competent authority. Then you will make sure that the sanction, audit of sanction, why this is there, audit of sanction, it will ensure two things. First, expenditure is properly covered by sanction. And second, authority has power to sanction these expenditures. So it is a check of both. The person who is actually sanctioning the expenditure, does he even have the power to sanction those expenditure as per the law or as per the constitution? Sometimes if you don't see the authority with them, sometimes the authority may be delegated of the financial power made by the authority competent to do so. So sometimes some other authority can actually delegate the power, financial power of approving or sanctioning the expenditure. The higher authority can delegate it to the lower authority, but at least you find out whether that person is actually has power to sanction those expenditure by the constitution or it is the delegated power to them by a competent authority. Will you be able to write at least these two sentences, guys, under audit of sanction? They are expecting you to write both of them. Now, now the easy one. Audit against the provision. What against the provision? You have to see whether there is a proper budget or not. So the expenditure has been incurred for the purpose for which grant and appropriation has been provided and the amount of this expenditure does not exceed the appropriation. So how does government appropriate the money? They make the budget. Every year there is a budget comes and from that budget the money is appropriated for that purpose. So first you have to see whether this appropriation is done or not. Appropriation of the fund is done or not. And if done, the expenditure does not exceeds the appropriation. For example, think every year you must be hearing that Nirmala Sitharamanji actually presenting the budget. So whenever she presents the budget, she presents the budget for the entire department. Department of Defense this much, Department of Hospital this much. So out of all that, sorry, not the hospital, health and safety. So out of all that 10,000 crores that is given to the defense, they will further appropriate now in what expenditure they are from the defense, that money is going to be there. So you have to see the appropriation and then see if that appropriation is done, like whatever appropriation is done, whether the expenditure is actually matching that appropriation or not, or does it exceed. Is it clear, everyone? Not very much, I say you already have very good question to ask from this topic. So they may now not ask audit of sanction or audit of provision of fund, but they can surely ask propriety audit. By any idea what question from the government audit came into your exam? Or did they ask any January exam? Have you seen January paper, guys? By any chance you have that PDF? Okay, if not, don't waste time now. See it later on. But please write propriety audit with me, because I want you to learn the exact points that we are going to discuss here, understand in this session, and that much only you have to write under the propriety audit. Don't make generic points over there. The first point says under propriety audit, expenditure is not prima facie more than the occasion demands. That is first point. And every officer exercises the degree of vigilance as a person of ordinary prudence. I have given you that example, right? If I have 10 rupees as an ordinary person, how I'm going to be very prudent about that 10 rupees? The same way, if I become a government official, I have to think for a government money. The second point that you will have to remember as it is that the authority that exercises its power of sanctioning expenditure to pass an order, it should not directly or indirectly, accrue to its own advantage. Clear? Third, public money should not be utilized for the benefit of a particular person or section of the community, unless, now this is an important question, they will give you this line in the exam. The public money should not be utilized for the benefit of a particular person or section of the community. Explain. Unless there are certain conditions available. Explain. So normally propriety audit says you have to check whether they have, like the person who has the authority to sanction the expenditure, they also misutilize their power and sanction the government money for their own benefit. Or when they were making the expenditure, normally, like if they are writing with a pen of 10 rupees, when it comes to utilizing the government money, suddenly they are buying 2000 rupees pen. So that is not a person of ordinary prudence, right? So that is your first point. Then second point, it should not accrue that expenditure, and the power to pass an order should not directly or indirectly benefit the person who is actually sanctioning those expenditure. Now, the third point says you cannot use that public money for the benefit of any particular person or section of the society or community unless the amount that you have expended for that person or the community is very small, insignificant, or the person who got the money actually had a claim against the government which is enforced in the court of law, or the person who got the money or the community which got the money is actually recognized by the policy or the customs, or the amount of allowances such as traveling allowances granted to meet the expenditure for a particular type should be regulated, that the allowances are not on whole sources of the profit of the recipient. So whenever it comes to the public money, please ensure these four things. One, it should not be like, so please ensure one thing, that it is not for the benefit of one person or the particular section of the community. So for unless that expenditure is very insignificant, then leave it. Don't look for the propriety over there. Or the person who has claimed, or the community which has claimed the money from the government like this, like such a huge money, or then make sure that amount, that whether it is a case which is already pending in the court of law. A third, the expenditure is done for a particular section of the community because there is a recognized policy or custom, right? Sometimes you have to do, for example, they give the money for the Hajj Yatra, or they give the money for that where do the people go in the north? Similar to Hajj, there is one more Amarnath Yatra and all, right? So there is a lot of subsidy and all these travel programs that is done by the agencies. So sometimes government also fund that. If the government is funding, they are only helping the particular section of the community, right? For Hajj or for the Amarnath Yatra, it is only targeting a particular section. But because why they are facilitating that? Because it is a custom, right? Then the last is make sure any allowances, for example, the traveling, the government officials going to the foreign country spending like 2 lakh rupees, 5 lakh rupees, 20 lakh rupees in 10 days travel. The amount of allowances such as traveling allowances granted to meet the expenditure of a particular type should be regulated, and the allowances are not on whole sources of the profit to the recipient. People who are getting these allowances, it should not become a profit. It should be only be there to cover their expenditure. Are we clear? Please do propriety audit once, then we'll go for the performance audit, guys. The 3 E's. रोनन एक बार देख लेना परफॉर्मेंस ऑडिट का क्वेश्चन है क्या. I'll also see. Now, performance audit is the most simplest one. You have heard this word of effectiveness and efficiency already before, but you have to add economy to it. So, any Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, any Digital India initiative, any Ladli Lakshmi Yojana, any that affordable housing program, any program and a scheme run by the management or by the government, you have to ensure as an auditor it is running economically, it is working efficiently, and it is able to achieve its goals. That meant it is effective as well. So the scope of audit will cover, in case of economy, that various schemes, projects and their economical operation, and also whether they are yielding results expected from them. Right? What does it mean by economy? Any acquisition of the financial, human and physical resources done by the government is done economically. And whether the approving and spending authority have observed economy. What does it mean by effectiveness? All these programs and schemes, they actually achieved their overall goals. And that is not only effective, as well as the efficiency with which they have actually achieved their goals. The last point into this performance audit is the objective. The objective of examination is oriented towards greater economy and effectiveness in case of performance audit. The procedure for conducting performance audit cover, first of all, now this is a very small topic. This is asked in CA final exams also sometimes. This chapter is as it is in their syllabus. So when you do the audit of a particular program, suppose for example that housing affordable housing yojana that was going on across India. So first you have to identify what is the topic, right? What is affordable housing? What is that government program? Then find out find out the preliminary study done for that program, because no government program will run directly in terms of spending money unless and until there is some R&D available, that what is the whole program. Then do the planning of that audit. That it is such a big program, but such a big scheme. How do you do the audit? So please plan that audit properly. Execute that audit and report it. The procedure is very simple, but you need to know that there are 2 points before planning, executing the work and reporting. That is, first identify the topic, identify the scheme, and then do the preliminary study before you go and plan, execute the work. Are we clear, everyone? That is all you need to remember under performance audit. Guys, shall we go ahead? Expenditure, the audit of expenditure is done, all the 5, right? Now, before we close the session, I want to cover this last question. The government audit is not finished. We have to cover the rest of the portion. We will cover the audit of accounts, audit of purchases, audit of inventory tomorrow. But there is a question in your exam, in your book, called as Role of Comptroller and Audit General of India as prescribed under Section 143 of the Companies Act. Are we talking about the audit of government company here? Yes. The question should arise, who has the power to appoint the government company auditor? Right? Sometimes they ask you this question. So you can write, if they ask you this question regarding the appointment of government company auditor, you'll write, in case of government companies, C&AG shall appoint auditor and direct such auditor in the manner in which accounts of the government company are required to be audited. So basically, how do you write this? First of all, you know the answer now. In case of government company, it is the C&AG who appoints the auditor. But not just that, it also directs the auditor, dear auditor, please do audit in this particular manner only. Now, once the auditor is appointed, the appointed auditor shall submit copy of audit report to C&AG and include. What will you include along with your audit report? 1. Directions issued by C&AG. You remember they have given you certain directors or directives of how you should do the audit. Include that along with your audit report. Then what actions were taken thereon, and third, its impact on accounts and financial statement of the company. But the thing is, the C&AG is not going to accept your audit as it is. So for example, you have done the audit of a government company and you submitted that report to the government, right? To C&AG. Now C&AG has the power to conduct a supplementary audit and comment on your report. The C&AG will do when? Within 60 days from the date of receipt of your audit report, they have the right to conduct a supplementary audit under section 143 subsection 6A. By such person, as he may authorize on this behalf. So C&AG, so once you have done the audit, within 60 days of receiving your audit report, C&AG may ask some other person, or he may authorize such other person to go and do the supplementary audit of the same client. And for the purposes of such audit, it will require the information or additional information to be furnished to the other person so authorized on such matters by such persons or person in such form as the C&AG of India may direct. Basically, what they're saying is the client will have to provide the information to the other person to whom C&AG have sent now. Are we clear, guys? For conducting the supplementary audit? Now, they can also, so C&AG may also comment upon or supplement such audit report under section 143, subsection 6. If, for example, if you have sent the report to whom? If you were the auditor of government company, only C&AG has appointed you, right? C&AG has appointed you. You did your audit, you prepared the audit report. You have sent the report to C&AG. Now C&AG has two ways, both the ways. One, it may order supplementary audit, and along with that, in your audit report, he can comment. He can provide supplementary, C&AG can provide their own comments on that. And once the company receives the comment from the C&AG, it will have to send the copy of such audited financial statement to every, and the report, audit report, along with the comments, to every member or to every trustee of the debentures issued by the company, and to all the person other than such members or the trustee being the person so entitled before to be also to be placed before the AGM of the company at the same time and in the same manner as the audit report. So along with your audit report and audited financial statement, now the C&AG report and the comments will also go to the members or every trustee or every member of the company. Are we clear on the supplementary? Sometimes they may ask the question just on the supplementary audit. ICAI has done this before, they can do. But you also have the, as a C&AG also have the power to or right to do the test audit. Without prejudice to the provision relating to the audit and auditor of the C&AG may, in case of the company covered under section subsection 5 and 7 of section 139, if he considers necessary by an order cause test audit to be conducted of the accounts of the company and the provision of section 19A of the company's controller and audit general of the act shall apply to report of the such of the test audit. So your question can be, can this test audit be separate than the start audit? Yes. This is a separate audit altogether that C&AG is conducting on your on a company. All the companies covered, basically to any company, they can actually cause a test audit. Now, please remember, if you are the statutory auditor of the government company, you shall submit the report to C&AG. Who has the right to comment thereon and supplement the audit report submitted by the statutory auditor in the manner he may think fit. But there is a section 134 subsection 3 of the Companies Act. It imposes the duty on board of directors of the company to give an explanation and comment on every reservation, adverse remark or disclaimer contained in the auditor's report and the secretarial audit report of the company secretary in practice. In the absence of similar provision requiring the company to give reply on the reservation made by the C&AG, the board of director of such company is not bound to give information or explanation in respect of such comments. So basically what happened, there was a supplementary audit conducted and there was a normal audit conducted. In both the audit reports, if there is any reservation, if there is any adverse remark, there is any qualification disclaimer is given by the auditor, or even in case of the secretarial audit report, it is the board of the company who has to give the explanation on the comments on such a reservation. However, if this provision is not there in the Companies Act, then the board of directors are not bound to give the comment on the reservation, comments at the reservation given by the C&AG. So this is just a caveat you have to remember when it comes to the Companies Act for the supplementary audit and the test audit. What do you say, guys? Heavy or is it like a little heavy on the government audit? Pooja, are you on mute? You are saying something. Okay. But is it better, like, before, like whatever coverage you had of this topic before, is it better from their previous knowledge? I'll still take tomorrow's time. I want to finish the government audit properly. So what I am going to cover tomorrow, all these topics that we didn't do it, like today, we didn't do the audit of receipt because it is again a good 4 or 5 or 6 marks question can be audit of receipt. There can be audit of a stores inventory. Again, 4, 5, or 6 marks question can come. There can be audit of commercial account, 4, 5, 6. They are now easy only. They are not difficult, but they are very specific points. And I don't want you to write any generic point to them. So these 3 points I'll cover. And then we can take the LLP, or we can take the different entities for that matter over here. We have seen, so far we have seen some part of the NGO, we have seen some part of the educational, hospital, clubs and cinema and hotel. But we have not seen this at all. We have seen some part of the Comptroller and Audit General and the government audit as well. But the local body, cooperative society, LLP, trust or society, that we haven't done. Right? So basically we spent some time into these 2 yesterday and this today, right? But still, let's do that. Also, I was telling you that tomorrow I was going to take the marathon before to my earlier class, but I'm not going to do that because I'm not taking tomorrow because I'm already still completing chapter 4 with those guys. So whenever I take the marathon, I'll inform you. Tomorrow your class will be on the regular timings. Works, everyone?
Is it at 1 or 1:30 or will it get
tomorrow? I'll take it around 1:25. 1:25 rather than I'll try to come by 1:15 max from tomorrow, and sometimes like I actually take some extra. Actually, so I didn't mean to delay the class today, but my food was not prepared, so I was preparing and then I had to finish it early. But I will try around 1:15 or 1:20. Works from tomorrow. All right, guys. Then shall we meet again? So whatever topic we can cover tomorrow of chapter 9, we will do. And then can you tell me what chapter you want to pick next?
Bank audit, maybe.
Okay. Ronan? Amrita? Or maybe. Shall we do some standards this time so that there is a gap between this kind of chapters?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it will be too dry, like, till the end, like, for about 10 days. All the dry chapters we are doing. We did the chapter 3, then we are doing 9. So let's take some difficult standards which you feel are difficult.
Sampling or analytical, any.
530, 520?
Yeah.
Done? Shall we do that? So day after tomorrow, we'll do 520 and 5. Tomorrow 17, no? So on 18th, okay. On 18th, we'll do 520, 530 questions.
When will you do the cooperative societies now?
Cooperative societies. So what we'll do is, like, tomorrow we'll do whatever topics we can do. Whatever is left, we'll cover in the end. So there will be a good time gap also between them. So I don't want to do for 4 days. I can't take this chapter. You will be too bored with this chapter also, and you will not be even have the energy to learn so much. So we can take that later. Those few topics, right? Whatever we are left with. All right. Then see you tomorrow at around 1:15 or 1:20 p.m. guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome everyone. Bye.